Welcome back to Old Guy REI. We hope you're enjoying this new series where we're trying to introduce some of the other investors in our community and get their stories out there and just help people get familiar with them and maybe make even more connections. I know we've made a lot of great connections on our Wednesday accountability calls, but today Myki agreed to come on with me and share his story. We've been friends for quite a while now, and I think people will really find a lot of value in what you're doing, Myki. So thanks for joining me today.
Yeah, thanks for having me on and really appreciate all the talks we've had. And I'm glad to share my story if it can help anyone out.
Yeah, so obviously several of us are familiar with your story, but for those who aren't, why don't you share a little bit about yourself, where you're at and where do you invest and how long have you been investing so far?
Sure, I listened to Val's story, I listened to Lindsay's story, and I took a lot out of that because when Lindsay was talking about the fire movement, I too was into that. And I was heavily investing in 401ks and Roths and brokerage accounts, all with the S&P 500. But like Dion talks about is what is your end game? I didn't really think about that. I just thought, what's the fastest way I can get $1 million invested into all these accounts in the S&P 500? But how are you going to do that when you plan to retire early and I'm on a more middling wage? And I was doing it for 4 years, saving aggressively, and it just seemed like that retirement going farther and farther in the distance. Then I started watching Financial Firefighter, seeing his story. He's from Hawaii, I'm from Hawaii, and pretty much hopped on his coattails, invested in Pittsburgh. I'm about 2 years in investing and have three single families right now, trying to grow more.
Yeah, on with a couple of the previous guests, it seemed like they they were lucky on their first deal. Everything went perfect. Was that your experience?
I was the exact opposite. The first one, I don't know what it is about Hawaiians, but maybe you see a wave, you want to rush it, attack it. That's what I did. I went too fast. I should have followed Zuper's rules. I should have done 6 months in the market, 6 months to a year in the market. I should have networked more, understood buy boxes, understood rent boxes. And even though Mark told me all these things beforehand I should do, I just kind of went for it and then let the realtor guide me, let the property management guide me. When looking back, I should have done the opposite and created more leverage for myself so that I could have negotiated things better. But I made a ton of mistakes, no sewer scopes, and of course that one had a big ginormous tree and eviction on the first one, changing property management on the first one, and I'm just trying to learn and get better. But the 5 years of suck, so true.
Yeah, I think we were kind of in the same spot that you were in for different reasons. When you start investing and you find out that you can do it, you just want to, I guess, make as much progress as you can to hopefully get retirement closer to you faster. But it ends up working opposite, right? Because um, we started investing again in 2021, and our story, we're a little bit closer to retirement, so we were hoping to pick up some cash flowing properties to help us in those years. But by going a little bit too fast, it actually slowed us down and didn't let things stabilize as soon as we purchased them for any length of time, just kept buying. And for us, we're almost to that fifth year mark. This is our fourth year, but our our worst year was our third year, wasn't our first year. So that can be different for everybody. But I think you did some things right, right? You found someone that was investing in an area that was successful at it. and you followed them in instead of just going in blind. I think that was pretty smart. I think we all have different goals. You're, if it's okay, you're in your 40s, early 40s, and you have quite a bit of time for appreciation and things like that to work in your favor. But you and I have talked too about work, and how we used to see it as ball and chain until Zuber's comment about thinking about it as a key to your future and helping you get there faster. A lot of people want to buy properties and quit right away. It doesn't work that way. So you picked up a property in Pittsburgh. You mentioned it was a single family. Was that property occupied when you took it over?
It was vacant.
And were you able to get a tenant right away?
No, it took 3 months. And it was funny because my girlfriend lives in Japan, so every year I go out to see her. And it was during that time I was trying to hold off on going to Japan until the unit got rented, but it was taking so long, and she was like, "Oh, you please, can you come?" And then I actually went in the worst time to go to Japan, which is hot, humid, which is in August. But we went on this long walk to the shrines, and I don't know the relation to it of anything, but the next day, they had found a tenant. So I kind of laugh at that because even though they found the tenant, I had to evict that tenant afterwards. So we get a laugh out of that, but it's just going through those times was really difficult. And I know Mark was really busy. I was reaching out to him. We're talking a lot, but actually I was watching Dion's channel and then I got hooked on Dion Talk Financial Freedom and Matt Lumberjack Landlord, Millennial Mike, One Rent At a Time. And that was my base for all my education. Then I saw you interviewed by Dion, and then you had said, reach out to me anytime. And anytime an investor says that, I will come reaching out. I will find you, I'll reach out, try to get advice because I know we're both big on mentorships. And once we started talking, then that kind of grew. The group grew because of that. And then now we've kind of rolled it into accountability meetings. And, I just love talking to different people, networking and resources because not until meeting you, I found kind of the best lender. I found really good insurance agents. So just having that network, you can find better resources. And I just see the power of it, where before I was more introverted and didn't really like reaching out to people and talking. But now when you tie the financial freedom aspect, the time freedom aspect to it, it makes I'll do anything. I will jump out of my shell and try to break down walls if it's a better chance for me reaching time freedom, like Dion Talk says.
Yeah, yeah, a lot of good points there. I think um, we've talked before about how doing these videos, starting this channel, our mentors and things like that. If an opportunity comes your way, you can't be too shy to take advantage of it because it might not come again. But by, doing these meetings and meeting all these people, it's it's broadened the number of prospects, and other people in the group have made connections, in their local markets, doing the same kinds of strategies and things like that. People doing, I wouldn't say wholesaling and flipping is a big thing in our groups, but long-term, short-term rentals, mid-term rentals. Now, rent by the room is pretty popular. We have some friends that are doing build to rent, building new homes and with the thought of renting those out. Um, you mentioned taking a little bit of time to rent out your first property. One of the really important things that we've discussed in the past is having reserves. You can't buy a property and not have some funds set aside in case your property doesn't rent right away, or there's a repair that you didn't find out until you took over the property. Maybe a tenant moves in and the furnace goes out right away. So if you don't have reserves, that could be a really bad thing. It could knock you out of the race right away. Luckily, it sounds like you had some decent reserves. Cynthia and I had a decent amount of reserves, and we almost burned through those. I mentioned year three. We pretty much burned through those reserves, and thankfully we had them, or we probably would have had to sell something to keep going. But we're still in it, and we're still looking forward to moving forward. So you mentioned you have three properties. How long was it after your first one that you bought your second?
It was 6 to 8 months. And when I was tracking it, that's kind of the average, around 6 to 8 months. But it was just that 4 years I spent because I was trying to really escape my W-2 through the bottle and just partying and living life. But then my paychecks would get shorter and shorter. And then I was thinking, I gotta change this. I gotta do something about this. That's when I dove more into investing and financial freedom and all those different types of groups. And then I just kind of saw that timeline, didn't really care for it too much, and real estate was always on my mind. And I know we talked about bigger pockets, how they would have an episode, but every episode would be different. So it's like all those different things you're chasing, you don't really have your base of where to start. But then once I got introduced to this group, the ORAD for life, it's like a family, a community. Now I really can get behind this model because I like stability. I like just knowing the basics and improving on those basics. And that's what we're trying to do. And it's really good when we have talks because we'll go over each other, like our finances, how are we looking at each property, what can we do to stabilize it or optimize it, like Matt Lumberjack talks about. So all those different things and all the laundry list we got to take care of, like high priority, but also what do you have to do to just keep operations rolling? And there's so many different things we can discuss. And that's why I think we've had so many meetings and why they're still popular and why they're still going on.
Yeah, I think you're lucky in the respect that you're just in one market. Um, with us being in a few different markets, and we've had to learn different things. For example, in St. Louis, they require us to have occupancy inspections, which is something we didn't experience in other markets. And um, we've been able to find good contractors in St. Louis. Our property manager will let us use outside vendors if they don't have time to get to something, or sometimes they'll come back with a really high price, and we'll find a better price. Um, when you I think all your properties are managed by the same company, and actually the agent is affiliated with that company as well,
Mhm.
the real estate agent. So you've been able to pick up those three, but now you're looking at multifamily. Why did you make the switch?
Just seeing how Dion and Lumberjack talks about multifamily, and you have also told me about multifamily as well. It's something I have been interested in. And even though single families are able to work in Pittsburgh, Jack has also mentioned he only does multifamily as well. So just taking all that into account and just kind of exploring that option more, maybe sticking with duplexes for now is what I'm want to try to broaden my scope.
Yeah, I think, and it's different in different markets, right? In some markets, single families work better than multifamilies, but I think for the most part, 2 to 4 units can work much better. There are differences though, right? We were just talking about how if you have a single family home and a tenant moves in, they take care of all the utilities, they take care of the lawn, they take care of snow removal and things like that, which is a thing in the Midwest. But when you hit, 2 to 4 units, you're going to pay for snow removal and lawn care typically. So those are numbers that you have to factor in when you're analyzing your deal. I think, and in a lot of cases, like you mentioned, this property that you're looking at is a side-by-side duplex. A lot of the ones in St. Louis are up-down duplexes, and that can bring challenges, different challenges for like noise complaints or things like that. And I think on this deal that you're looking at, which is really not too common, all the utilities are separated, which is really nice because we have our triplex and the the utilities are not separated. So we need to pay for those costs and then get reimbursed by the tenants a set amount each month. So that's a little bit more, I guess, of a hassle. So that would be really exciting if you did get a deal like this and those things were already separated. When you're looking at properties like that, I know we just looked at your listing, but in Pittsburgh, the homes are typically older. I think this one you're looking at was built in 1930. A lot of people think that's too old to buy. What are your thoughts on that? Why would you look at a building so old?
When we're talking about the breakdown of a property, I have learned a ton from you because when I was going through my first inspection report, I did not, it's like another language to me. I'm like, what is all this? And I hadn't met you at that time, but then when I was going to the inspection part on the second property, with all your contracting experience, you had broken down things for me and you point things out that I can't see. Even on this duplex you're looking at, you pointed out stuff I couldn't find. And now I have a better understanding of just the details of each property. So knowing that with inspection reports and also reviewing quotes or for repairs or cosmetic upgrades, those things are so crucial to understanding. I remember one time I called you and we were talking about looking at just a sewer, just a sewer line, and you're saying there was a almost like an elbow that looked kind of odd, but at least you explained things to me so I have a better understanding of things, and I really appreciate going through those.
Yeah, that's great. And like I've offered to anybody in the group, if they get an inspection report that they don't really understand, I'm always available to go over things like that, and hopefully I can help. But you've already gained some experience in that, and I was with Lindsay last week on her interview, and she was saying that even though, well, we were just talking about the fact that even though we're still fairly new investors, we're still ahead of someone, right? So it's been nice doing our Wednesday calls because we have people in there that have several units, and we have some people in there that don't have any units. And when I see people that don't have any properties yet, that's really exciting to me because they're in there trying to learn, and they are going to get their first unit. We have some friends that picked up their first units this year, and now they're going through and learning so much that they couldn't have learned without having a property. So, and now they're able to share that with us too. And some of the experiences that they're going through, we haven't gone through yet. So we can we can gain experience from everybody's journey with with your experience and what you have so far, what you've accomplished so far, where do you see yourself going? We've heard some of our friends say, they just want, like Dion, the right amount of units with the right amount of cash flow. He has 18 now and he's good there. He can buy more if he wants, obviously. He said he can sell some and still live very comfortably. And we have, like Zuber and Matt up in the hundreds of units. What does the future look like for you? How many units do you think today? How many units do you think you'll be satisfied with?
Yeah, I take this understanding from Dion Talk, where he talks about your end goal and the 3x multiplier. So I just want to base it off of that, where I am pretty lazy. So I'm not too much of a lumberjackian, but I can still absorb math stuff and incorporate it into how I'm investing because Matt is super key investor as well that I learned so much from. But if I can hopefully live in Japan with my girlfriend, and if we can do that off of 2,000 a month, then I may be looking at a 6 to 8,000 a month, 3 to 4x multiplier. That's my goal, 10 years, and have everything, all the savings, all the rent income, just go for the next down payment on a property. That's my goal while I'm trying to keep with the videos, keep with the YouTube channel, keep with the meetings, keep with our talks, continuing to network and get better with everyone. Because that's what I would love to see is all of the ORAD people, all of this community to be able to retire. Then we can have one giant party after it's all said and done.
That would be a fun party. You you mentioned the mentorships, and I think we've talked before about it. Cynthia and I have done a few mentorships and spent $8,000 to $10,000 on those. The mentorships that you've participated in, have they been worth the cost for you?
Yeah, they're so clutch. And it's Dion's. He does the members only meetings twice a month. And then his course, which you have a never ending subscription every other month to his course calls after his live streams. Then you have Matt's boot camp and along with the course. And we're still waiting for Millennial Mike's course, soon to be coming out. I hope. And then you got ORAD's courses and school community, all those bundled up together. And you have outliers like the Remote Real Estate Academy, which I joined and I'm enjoying as well, and Coach Carson stuff. So you take all of those things and just try to improve and get better. I love that.
One thing that came to mind, I might have mentioned, Dion and I were talking, and we're we're at a different level now, right? Although we consider ourselves beginners, um, there are some, because I asked Dion about the Bigger Pockets rookie boot camp, and there are some courses out there that maybe we couldn't learn so much uh, from if we took them today. Uh, a lot of those things are maybe for someone who doesn't have any properties and just is thinking about it, kind of familiarize themselves with the process. I think if we're going to take mentorships now, they would need to be at a little bit higher level. That was a great point, something that I never really thought about before because I always think of myself as a new investor. Um, and like I mentioned before, even though we are newer, we're still ahead of somebody, uh, and we can help. So there are people out there that we can still help, and that's exciting. When you speak about your girlfriend, is she into investing like you are? Is she participating in any of the in any of the work that you're doing to obtain more properties?
She supports me. And when I talk about our life plans, what that looks like for the next 5, 10 years, she's supporting me fully on that. But as in terms of the details, really digging into everything, she's not too much into it, but I still appreciate her support. So I know we've talked about differing types of relationships and investing. Some, like for Cynthia, was fully in with you on all the details. Then there's a relationship like mine where maybe it's half half, but there's still the support there. And then there's others where one is all fully on board, the other is maybe 10% on board, and it's just trying to find that to bring those two together. So it's interesting to see the whole all the variety.
Yeah, it seems to be kind of a common theme where I think it's more husbands, right, that are we're all in, and the wives maybe are a little hesitant until they see that we're really going to stick to it. I know, I've done things in the past that I've been super interested in the beginning and then it fades. So I think once at least in our relationship, once Cynthia realized that I wasn't quitting on this one, then she thought, okay, he's serious about this. I can jump on now. Um, and, a lot of our friends that are in similar situations in the group, some of them did get to go to the ORAT event with their wives, and their wives got to see that there are other crazy people out there doing this. And so they were more open to the ideas. I always just thought, like for us, I started doing it to help our family in the future. And all of the people that I'm talking about were doing the same thing. So I didn't really understand why their partner wouldn't be on board if it was going to help the whole family and maybe not just the guy, right? Not just like he's doing this so he can buy more toys or do something crazy like that, but thinking about future, thinking about maybe she won't have to work as long if she doesn't want to, uh, or maybe they can work part time if they want to do something they really love because they don't really need to rely on the income. There's so many factors, but it was great to see that a lot of them came closer after attending that event.
I didn't know you could be passionate about financial freedom, but in our group, I see that. And whenever I see someone passionate about something, I'm more interested in what they're doing. That's why I really like if someone new is come in and you can see that same passion, that same dedication, it fires me up and I can take inspiration from that. So that's what I love just being around this group because everyone is working on something different, but they're always trying to grind it out and that's powerful.
Yeah, I think you referred to the other interviews that we did with Val and Lindsay was saying, and I think she said it perfectly. She didn't know there were other crazy people out there like she was, and she found us. So, and we were talking about, you know, we can call anybody in this group, and they don't mind talking all day long about real estate and the benefits and the challenges and just to have somebody else because a lot of us don't have that kind of support in our regular circles of family and friends. So that was pretty cool, and I'm glad you're one of the crazy ones. So thank you again for coming on with me to do the interview. I'm sure folks will enjoy it, and um, they can reach out to you. How?
On Instagram is fine. Or like and subscribe, follow Old Guy REI, reach out over there because without starting your channel and having me do weekly recaps for the accountability meetings, I wouldn't be able to practice speaking and getting better at communicating. So I thank you for that.
Yeah, I know we've seen a lot of great progress in that respect. So we'll make sure to keep doing these. And if any of you guys want to chat with Myki, just shoot us a message, make a comment on the video. It should be out in a couple of days, and we'll get you guys hooked up.
I'm gonna
Thank you.
still mark and say aloha.